Returning to the morning hour, the chair now recognizes Senator Howell, the gentlelady from Northern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. Today we're joined by CASA's education program, Mi Espacio. CASA is a national immigrant organization that deals with community services, community organizing, and community advocacy for Latinos. We have over 10,000 Virginia immigrant, Latino, and working class members as part of CASA. This particular program of CASA strives to build the next generation of immigrant and first-generation youth leaders by combining academic support, college and career readiness, civic leadership development focused on making changes in their own communities. It sounds rather like our PAGE organization. I hope that you will give them the warm welcome of the Senate.
Apparently they just had to leave, and so we weren't able to officially welcome them, but we certainly are glad for all that they do, and we've heard the goodness of their efforts. And so we will give them in absentia the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes the junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Kiggins.
Madam President, I rise for purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Madam President, today we have in the gallery with us Connor Bryan. Connor worked as our intern all session long, and he was a tremendous help to me and my team. Connor's a political science and philosophy major at Randolph-Macon College in Ashland. He's a senior and will graduate in May. And Connor is also the chief opinion editor for Randolph-Macon's historic newspaper, The Yellow Jacket. Connor's a former Eagle Scout, and he consistently makes the Dean's List for academic achievement. In addition to all of his academics, Connor plays defense for the Randolph-Macon lacrosse team, and we would like to wish him good luck today as Randolph-Macon takes on Washington College in a home game tonight under the lights. And Connor's just been a great help. It's been nice to have just a new face in our office and have someone that's just a few years younger than myself to converse with just about issues and what kind of our younger generation thinks of things. So it's been a pleasure, and thank you, Connor, so much for your help. And Madam President, please give him the warm welcome of the Senate. Thank you.
Morning, Connor. Thank you for coming, and thank you for helping the senator. You know, we love our interns. You help us to make all that we do here much, much easier and more manageable, certainly. So thank you for being here. Chair recognizes Senator McDougall, the gentleman from Hanover.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for an introduction that I think you don't have a green sheet for yet.
All right, continue.
Madam President, with us in the gallery, we have Kimberly Headley from Kilmarnock. And Madam President, you might not know Kimberly, but you probably do know her sister, Jenna Moon, who is also with her in the gallery. And Jenna used to work for the senator from Fauquier and now in the Secretary of the Commonwealth's office. But Madam President, Kimberly is here today visiting with her sister. She works for the Bon Secours hospital system, particularly the one in Kilmarnock and Community Hospital. She deals with everything in the supply chain and has recently been named as the supply chain hero for Bon Secours Mercy, and she has recently also been nominated as the female leader for the hospital this month. It is her first time visiting the Capitol, and we ask that you give her the warm welcome of the Senate to her, Kimberly Headley, and Jenna Moon.
Please rise.
Madam President, they also happen to be twins.
Yes, I see now. Thank you for coming to see your Senate in action. I tell you, I hear about that you work in the supply chain part of the economy, and there's nothing to make your courses come alive than to experience it yourself. So thank you for all that you do to help to make sure that we get the items that we need, especially when it comes to our medical needs. And senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this session, we passed Senate Joint Resolution 88, celebrating the life of the Reverend Canon J. Fletcher Lowe, who passed away on August 25th, 2021. And those of us who have been in this body for more than a couple of years likely came to know Reverend Lowe as a pastoral presence here in the General Assembly. He was affectionately known as the preacher in plaid, and his involvement and commitment to the ministry in the halls of the legislative process began in 1967. He was a founding member of the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy in 1982 and faithfully embodied the mission of the center to work for a more just and compassionate Commonwealth. A story that Justice Mims of the Supreme Court told in his office behind his desk. He has a paper coffee filter on which is written in faded brown ink the word justice. And that gift was a reminder. When he handed it to him, Fletcher said, "Here is your justice filter. You must pass every decision, every vote through that justice filter." And the fact that Justice Mims kept that from his days as a member of the General Assembly through his days at the Supreme Court is a testament to just how impactful that gift was. Joining us in the gallery today on what I believe is her 90th birthday is Reverend Lowe's lifelong dance partner and wife of 62 years, Mary Fran Lowe, along with some of their friends. And I ask that we give her a warm Senate welcome as she came here today to receive Senate Joint Resolution 88.
Good. It is afternoon. Good afternoon, Mrs. Lowe. Thank you for being here. Thank you for lending your husband, Reverend Lowe, to the community and to the cause of justice. Certainly we need all hands on deck in that endeavor, and we thank you. And senators, let us give her the warm welcome of her Senate. Chair recognizes the senator from Roanoke County, Senator Suderline.
Thank you, Madam President. It's unusual for me to rise during the morning hours, so I'm going to make it count today. I rise with 2 requests and an introduction.
The senator may start at either one.
Thank you, Madam President. The first is I ask the Senate unanimous consent to introduce a Senate resolution. And briefly explaining that, Madam President?
The senator may continue.
That resolution is commending Cave Spring basketball on winning the state championship last night, which we got out here just in time to go see. And so I ask for unanimous consent. I'm going to do that next.
The question is, shall the Senate grant unanimous consent to introduce a resolution? All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Unanimous consent is granted to introduce your resolution, Senator.
Thank you, Madam President. And so I'm going to keep going with that. I now ask unanimous consent to grant another Senate resolution, and speaking briefly to that.
The senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. The 19th Senate District did very well last night because before the Cave Spring team won the boys championship, Carroll County captured their very first state championship in girls basketball. And I ask unanimous consent to introduce a resolution commending them.
The question is, shall the Senate grant unanimous consent to introduce another resolution? All those in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The senator's request is granted.
Thank you, Madam President. And now I ask to do an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. In the gallery, we have David Boatman, who made very good use of his trip from Carroll County, where he lives. He's a businessman in Carroll, involved in both real estate and also a cabinet company. And he traveled all the way here to see not just one of his high schools, but both high schools he attended win the basketball championship last night. So he's with me in celebrating today both the Carroll Girls Championship and Cave Spring Guys Championship. And he's very civically involved in Carroll County. He's the Republican chairman there. And I ask that the Senate give him the warm welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Boatman. Thank you for coming, and thank you for what you do back in your neck of the woods to help us as a Commonwealth be better. Thank you for all your civic endeavors. And senators, let us give him the warm welcome of his Senate. Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the gentleman from Bath.
Madam President, I rise for an announcement.
The senator may continue.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, it's Maple Festival time. For the last 2 years, the Highland County Maple Festival did not take place because of the pandemic. But this year, this weekend and next weekend, the 62nd annual Maple Festival will occur. Now, it's not been annual, as I said, because the last 2 years it didn't happen, but it's going to be extra special this time. You know, Highland has a couple of really important superlatives, besides the fact that they have great people. It's the least populated county east of the Mississippi River, and the highest average altitude east of the Rocky Mountains. Highland County, if you've never been, is a very cool place to get to. You've got to go over a bunch of mountains to get there, but the food this weekend and next will be just knock your socks off. I've taken brochures by each one of your offices, and you can look at highlandcounty.org for more information. But the whole list of places to go is in the brochure. I encourage you to take a trip up there because you won't regret it. Thank you, ma'am.
Chair recognizes Senator Vogel, the gentlelady from Fauquier.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for purposes of request.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise to request unanimous consent to introduce a memorial resolution. I had a beloved teacher in my community pass away a week and a half ago, and I would like to have unanimous consent of the body.
The question is, shall a resolution be introduced? Shall the Senate grant a resolution to be introduced for unanimous consent? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. Unanimous consent is granted to the senator. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Lynchburg, Senator Peake.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Today, I have 3 constituents from Goochland County in the gallery. I have Miss Jenny Wood, who has been serving as my legislative aide this session, and beside her, the 2 cutest and best dressed visitors to the Capitol we've had this session, Miss Essa Marie Wood and Marcella Wood. Marcella is in the 1st grade at Randolph Elementary School in Goochland County, and she is very involved in competitive gymnastics for the River City Youth Fitness Squad in Goochland. Essa Marie is a 4th grader at Randolph Elementary and a proud member of the robotics team. The Randolph Elementary First Lego League robotics team, named the Package People, won 1st place for core values in the recent statewide virtual tournament. They also won the Innovation Project Award and the Robot Performance Award at the qualifying tournament. Now, Essa Marie became involved in robotics because of the St. Bridget's robotics team and the legislation carried by the fine senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan. I would ask that you please give the Woods the warm welcome of the Senate.
It's afternoon, so good afternoon to you. And young ladies, thank you for coming. And you've sat here and listened, and you've done it admirably. And thank you for all that you do. And senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. The chair now recognizes Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Madam President, I would move that we suspend the rules and grant the privileges of the floor to a very distinguished gentleman and friend of everybody in here.
The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the privileges of the floor granted to a distinguished person? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The rules are suspended. The privileges of the floor are granted. Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I request permission to take the center aisle for a presentation.
The senator may continue.
Thank you. Come on. Madam President, today is a bittersweet day here at the General Assembly. In 1970, for the first time, Bob Brown set foot in the Capitol to cover a General Assembly session. He had been at the Richmond Times-Dispatch, actually both Richmond newspapers, because they used to have an afternoon Richmond News Leader, where he started in 1968 after 10 years in television. And he's been a fixture here. He's been a fixture here in the General Assembly. Whether we saw him or not, he always saw us and saw what we were doing. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, as we were looking through the gallery of this week at the General Assembly, my seatmate, Senator Mason, saw a picture of him talking to someone down the hall, and he said, "I didn't even know Bob was there." He certainly has taken pictures of me looking tired on this floor, but he never captured one of me asleep, so I think the pages were mistaken earlier today. But he has captured pictures of my children, both in this body and when my son got to meet one of his heroes, the astronaut Mark Kelly. He has captured us at our best. He has captured us at our not so best. He has captured Senator Saslaw in his seat, which is rare and amazing. And he has captured us in moments that didn't always appear in the Richmond Times-Dispatch, but would appear on our desk with a quip that we're pretty glad he didn't put in the paper. And I think I speak for everyone here when I say he will be missed. And as was stated when his retirement was announced, and I think it was talking about the paper, but I think it is definitely true here, this place will never be the same. But he has earned his retirement. He has earned time with his wife and family and grandchildren. I think even though he is putting his lens on his camera here, I suspect we will continue to see excellent photographs from Bob Brown in the future. Thank you, Madam President. And I would ask if Madam Clerk could read the resolution.
How fitting Steve was blocking my view. He will. Senate Joint Resolution number 222, commending Bob Brown. Whereas Bob Brown, a senior photographer with the Richmond Times-Dispatch, will retire in March 2022 after a distinguished 54-year career in photojournalism. And whereas growing up in the Shenandoah Valley, Bob Brown developed a passion for exploration and the beauty of the natural world from a young age. He was also a talented vocalist in his youth, singing in his church choir as a member of the All-State Chorus, and later in a barbershop chorus, the Virginians. And whereas Bob Brown attended art school at what is now Virginia Commonwealth University, but changed majors in his second year after discovering his passion and talent for photography. And whereas after graduation, Bob Brown was hired by WRVA-TV as a film editor, and during his 10 years in television, he also made occasional appearances on The Sailor Bob Show, and further honed his musical talents by writing and recording jingles for commercials. And whereas Bob Brown began his career in photography by shooting promotional still photos for local businesses as a freelancer, and his exceptional work caught the attention of local newspaper editors who invited him to apply for a job. And whereas in 1968, Bob Brown joined the Richmond Times-Dispatch and covered a wide range of local, state, and national stories, from high school sports and extreme weather events to 11 national political conventions and 9 presidential inaugurations, from Jimmy Carter in 1977 to Barack Obama in 2009. And whereas Bob Brown was first assigned to cover a session of the General Assembly in 1970 and has since become an institution on Capitol Square, working and building strong relationships with 13 governors and generations of state lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. And whereas throughout his tenure at the Virginia State Capitol, Bob Brown produced meaningful and engaging photos that have given Richmond Times-Dispatch readers a window into the everyday interactions and operations of the General Assembly. And whereas Bob Brown has earned the admiration of his colleagues for his commitment to treating every assignment with the utmost care and professionalism, as well as his keen creative eye and his ability to portray the fascinating nuance of even the most mundane scenes. And whereas Bob Brown has been a trusted mentor to countless other photographers and members of the Richmond Times-Dispatch staff, his absence during General Assembly sessions will be deeply felt, and he will be sorely missed. And whereas among many honors and accolades, Bob Brown was named the Virginia News Photographer of the Year 3 times and received the Miley Award from the Virginia News Photographers Association in 1985 and the George Mason Award from the Society of Professional Journalists Virginia Pro Chapter in 2014. He was also inducted into the Virginia Communications Hall of Fame in 2005 and the Virginia Capital Correspondents Association Hall of Fame in 2018. And whereas Bob Brown has published several collections of his photography, including a set of humorous outtakes from his time at the General Assembly and the Backroads series of books that document the interesting people and places he has encountered in his travels throughout the Commonwealth. And whereas after his retirement, Bob Brown looks forward to spending more time with his beloved family, including his wife, Evelyn, and their 5 children, 2 stepdaughters, and 12 grandchildren. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate, the House of Delegates concurring, that the General Assembly hereby commend Bob Brown, an esteemed senior photographer for the Richmond Times-Dispatch, on the occasion of his well-earned retirement. And be it resolved further that the Clerk of the Senate prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to Bob Brown as an expression of the General Assembly's admiration for his prolific body of work and achievements as a photojournalist, and gratitude for his outstanding service to the residents of the Commonwealth.
Please join me, Bob, where you know very well.
A lot of words.
I once heard a politician say that now that politics has made him so paranoid that when he comes back from the weekend and somebody says, "What did you do over the weekend?" he says, "Why? What did you hear?" And so we're going to say the same thing to you. We hope we've treated you so well that you keep some of those pictures unpublished. But this is just a token of our just fond memories of you. And I was here 20 years ago and when you took my first picture, and you're here 20 years later, so you must be very liked. Thank you. I have no words for you. You've been taking pictures that others just never caught. So thank you very much. From all the senators and staff. The Senate will be at ease.
report and speaking to that.
The senator
motion.
has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Living Organ Donor Protection Act, and the House would only agree to protect people from insurance discrimination rather than from employment discrimination, and that's as far as they're willing to go for this year, so we'd like to go ahead and accept that report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report on House Bill 421? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate adopts the Conference Committee report.
House Bill 427.
Chair recognizes Senator Barker, the gentleman from Southern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adopt the Conference Committee report. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Yes, this is a Children's Services Act and the community policies and management teams that are formed in each jurisdiction to be able to deal with issues related to children and adolescents and family assessments and things. And what we did was we clarified a little bit the number of the parents, the participation of parents in the assessments, and which parents would be the parents that would be involved and be selected to serve on those teams. And with that, I renew the motion to adopt the Conference Committee report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report on House Bill 427? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate adopts the Conference Committee report.
On page 9, Conference Committee report on House Bill 484.
Chair recognizes Senator Hashmi, the gentlelady from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Madam President. This particular legislation is exempting
Senator has the floor.
I'm sorry, Madam President. This particular bill is providing opportunities for individuals who are post-secondary students to continue to receive SNAP benefits and ensure that they are able to also participate in the program without any repercussion. And the conferees were able to reach agreement on the slight technical issues that we had. And so I move that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? All those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The report is adopted.
Page 13, Conference Committee report on House Bill 763.
Senator Reeves, the gentleman from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move that we would adopt the Conference Committee report. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Madam President, this is the same bill as Senate Bill 403, and I just want to talk a little bit about what has changed from the original bill through this conference. There have been three major changes to the engrossed bill. All of these are on pages 14 through 17 of the report. First, on lines 360 through 364, this report allows the charities to shift the audit fees that you've been hearing about, that some want to call a tax, directly over to manufacturers. What that does is it frees up the charities from one of the expenses that they were going to have. The second thing it does on line 424 through 426, it allows all host charities to lease their bingo halls to other charities to conduct electronic gaming. The reason we did this was we wanted to make sure that we could include some of the charities to allow them the opportunity to electronic gambling or gaming, if you will, and it's going to allow them significant fundraising opportunities for both the host charity, the Mooses, the Elks, the VFWs, American Legions, and the guest charities. Third, on lines 444 through 446, the report quintuples the cap on gaming proceeds for small charities from $40,000, which was the original cap, if you all remember, about a year ago when we passed 1127, when we were still in the Science Museum, to $200,000 of that. And when a charity reaches $200,000, the manufacturers will cut the machines off. On lines 156 through 157 of the conference report, it will allow charities to count wages and salaries as a business expense. This will allow them to retain more of their gaming proceeds for their charitable activities. And finally, Madam President, on lines 256 through 259, the report again adjusts the use of proceeds formula to give the established charities significantly more flexibility in how they spend their proceeds. This will also benefit the charitable activities. Madam President, just speaking overall, I want to thank the subcommittee from the summer, all the folks that have been involved in this. Two of the major gaming manufacturers, Grover Gaming and Powerhouse Gaming, got to the table, lent their endorsements to this bill, and we think we have a good product where not everybody got everything they wanted, but we're going to be able to clean up our charities to allow them to thrive in the future. And Madam President, with that explanation, I ask the bill pass.
Chair recognizes the junior senator from Richmond, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam President, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Madam President, would the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the senator from Spotsylvania yield?
Yes, Madam President.
Senator yields. Senator Morrissey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll preface my question with the comment that I know that you and Senators McPike and Bell have done a tremendous amount of work on this. Could you give the body, though, some idea of how prepared the state is, including the state agency, the Department of Agriculture, to do the enforcement arm of charitable gaming, which seems to have been the rub over the last 1 to 2 years, and also seems to be, they seem to have been woefully understaffed. Can you give us some idea what the overall picture is in that area?
Senator Reeves has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Senator, for the question. Yes. When we first started to find out what we had out there was 70% of these games we had no idea of where they were. Under this legislation, we will now capture those devices where we have accountability for them. So those devices, of course, will pay that fee from those manufacturers now. Those fees will indeed go back to VDAC through the general fund, but also in some other legislation, we have put together a coordinator for enforcement that is within the state police. And so the state police will be the enforcement arm along with VDAC and a couple of the other bills to help us enforce all these gaming practices.
Would the gentleman yield for a final question?
Will the senator from Spotsylvania yield?
Gladly yield.
The gentleman yields. Senator Morrissey has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I understand that HB 763 just applies to charitable gaming, and if that is correct, what about the other gaming that is going on, including skilled game? What type of if you can give us some global picture of what is going on there as far as enforcement, and I'm also mindful of the amount of money, revenue that the Commonwealth of Virginia has lost in the last 18 months.
Senator Reeves has the floor.
Madam President, speaking specifically, I'd like to be able to talk about what's going on overall, and I'm happy to do that, but specifically to charitable gaming. The controls that we have in place, we passed earlier from this body, was Senate Bill 530, and that was an enforcement bill that not only would help correct some of the things that were happening in charitable gaming, but gaming overall. So some of these illegal games that popped up out of nowhere from China and everywhere else that tried to backfill when when skill games shut down, we had a proliferation of charitable games, illegal games, everything backfilling into that void. So 530 will make that cleanup, put some teeth into the criminal code for that. Where do I see this going, Madam President? I think overall, those of us that sat on the subcommittee listened to a lot of the testimony. We feel like there has to be, and based on the OSIG's report, an overall umbrella over all these charities because, Madam President, we not only have charitable gaming, we have skill games, we have horse racing, we have casinos, we have online betting, we have lottery. So we have all these different silos of gambling. So at some point, there's talk amongst this group of senators to set up the Virginia Gaming Commission with the state police as the enforcement arm for that, Madam President.
I thank the senator.
Chair recognizes Senator Bell, the gentleman from Loudoun.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to this measure.
The senator has the floor.
I want to thank the gentleman from Spotsylvania for his work on this and Delegate Krizak down the hall. We worked, as the gentleman from Spotsylvania said, for about a year on this, and we found many problems. If you take each one of these bills separate, does it fix the problem? No. You have to put them all together. And to the point that the junior senator from Richmond mentioned, SB 401, which already passed this body, actually is the enforcement coordinator. Originally, we were going to put that in the lottery, but after talking with the lottery folks, we amended it and put it over in the state police, which we felt was the best place for it. But collectively, we believe that this will do what we sought out to do with charitable gaming and, frankly, make sure that the money raised is done in a safe manner, a legal manner, and it helps the legitimate charities. What we found through looking at this is that some charities which claim to be animal rescue have no physical address. There's no place where a charitable event is taking place or any kind of public service. And some of these have raised almost $1.8 million in revenue, a huge amount, and claim that they only have $6,400, which could go to a charity. I find these figures troubling and have huge doubts about the accuracy of these numbers. And I think they took advantage of loopholes. We've closed those loopholes, and I believe now we can make sure that the charities, the true charities, will benefit. And again, I thank the gentleman, and I urge everyone to support this conference report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 763? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, no 0, Rule 36-3.
Ayes 37, no 0, Rule 36-3. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 15, Conference Committee report on House Bill 979.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola, the gentlelady from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate concur with the Conference Committee report, and speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. What the Conference Committee report does is the bill originally allowed any foreign licensed teacher to gain a provisional license in the United States to teach after review by the Department of Health, by the Department of Education. So what the conference report does is say that the foreign license needs to have been granted within the past 5 years, and we spell out that the Department of Education, in fact, will have to review applications for the provisional license. Those are the two changes that have been made in this bill. I think the bill will help us with the shortage of teachers school systems are currently facing. I do hope it is the will of the body to pass this conference report. So thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report on House Bill 979? All in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 17, Conference Committee report on House Bill 1060.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate concur with the Conference Committee report and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. The Conference Committee actually blends the version of critically missing adults that passed the Senate with the version that passed the House. And what the Conference Committee report, how it currently reads, is we define adult as someone 18 years of age or older. And we specify some categories under critically missing adult to include those who may have a developmental disability, an intellectual disability, or a mental illness. It was very important to the House patron and some of the House conferees that we actually articulate those categories as examples under the umbrella of critically missing adult. The bill does add a tool in the toolbox that will enable the state police to determine if an individual is really at a danger to himself or others, and a statewide alert would go out in the hopes of locating an individual who, in fact, may be at risk, again, of harming himself or others. This is truly a compromise, and I do hope it is the will of the body to pass this Conference Committee report. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report on House Bill 1060? All in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
On page 17, House Bill 1071.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola, the gentlelady from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Conference Committee report be agreed to in speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. What this bill does is the conference report is the Senate version of this bill. What had happened somewhere along the line is the House version of this financial payment assistance bill actually had changed the definition of hospitals, which was not helpful. So the conference report conforms actually to the Senate bill. Very briefly, this bill does require hospitals to evaluate, to screen patients who are uninsured to see if they qualify for Medicaid or any other type of public financing or charity care if the hospitals have charity care. And then the hospitals would also be required to work with the patient to come up with a payment plan. And that language parallels federal regulation. There would be a possibility to renegotiate the payment plan. And then, importantly to us as General Assembly members, this data needs to be reported to the Commissioner of Health, and then data will be aggregated and shared with the respective General Assembly committees so we can understand more about medical debt and who is carrying it, and maybe look at some remedies going forward in the future. Having explained this Conference Committee report, I do hope it is the will of the body to pass it. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report on House Bill 1071? All in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 18, Conference Committee report on House Bill 1191.
Chair recognizes Senator Stewart, the gentleman from King George.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move that we adopt the Conference Committee report, and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the House counterpart to the Marcus Alert bill, and what we did in this was largely adopt the Senate position as it left the Senate, with the addition of reporting language and a requirement that DBHS convene a work group to try to gather information and see if we can come up with some models to help areas and to help find ways to overcome the obstacles that a lot of these jurisdictions are having in participating in the Marcus Alert. It still does have the opt-out for jurisdictions that are under 40,000, and there's a 2-year delay for the other jurisdictions. But I'd move you adopt the conference committee report.
Chair recognizes Senator McPike, the gentleman from Prince William.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the conference report briefly.
Senator has the floor.
So a part of the agreement in essentially allowing opt-out for a fairly large geographic tract, when you apply the 40,000, it is pretty significant. But working with the gentleman from King George, he knows that I don't care for that provision, but in good faith working with him, he's also committed to working with me on ensuring our future fundings based on the study that is in the conference report, and then work together to make sure we work as a General Assembly to get funding in to support those localities with 40,000 less to get the infrastructure and staffing in place to be successful. And so that's why I've agreed to have this opt-out in it, is that this is what I view as a short-term pause while we do the study, get the lessons learned, bring those, and help find the different elements that can work with larger geographic areas that may have different challenges that some of the localities have that are different across the Commonwealth. So I know there are some who don't like it. I don't care for the portion, but I've signed off on it in good faith in the commitment of the gentleman from King George as well as down the hall to also work to make sure that the study in the conference report is implemented. And with that end, I move the adoption as well. Thank you.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The report is adopted.
On page 20, Conference Committee report on House Bill 1282.
Chair recognizes Senator McClellan. Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Could that bill go by temporarily?
Without objection, House Bill 1282 goes by temporarily.
On page 21, House Bill 1308, Conference Committee report.
Chair recognizes Senator Barker, the gentleman from southern Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the conference committee report. This deals with
and speaking to it,
the bill. Yes.
Yes, sir. You may continue.
And this deals with a large planned tourism project with various parts to a major investment in Virginia that would be in Spotsylvania County, just a little bit north of the county, Caroline County line. But it'd be about a $700 million investment there, and what we've done is provided an option for them collecting a certain percentages of enhanced tax revenues accruing from that, as well as a consideration by the MEI committee that will look at this after the session is over. With that, I would move that we renew my motion that we adopt the conference committee report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? Those in favor?
Madam President.
Chair recognizes Senator McDougall, the gentleman from Hanover.
Madam President, would the gentleman rise for a question.
Senator Barker, will you yield?
I'll be happy to yield.
Gentleman from Hanover has the floor.
Madam President, I'd ask the gentleman, I think as the bill left the Senate, it was 1.5% would have been the number, and the House version was 2%. So which direction did the conference?
Senator Barker.
The conference committee went to the 2%.
So, Madam President.
Further question, Senator McDougall. Senator, will you yield?
I'd be happy to yield. Yes.
Senator from Hanover.
I'd ask the senator. That was the only thing in contention, so the Senate conceded to the House position.
Yes, that is
Senator
correct.
Barker.
Yeah.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 6.
Ayes 34, noes 6. The conference committee report on House Bill 1308 is adopted.
House Bill 1326 on page 22, conference committee report.
Chair recognizes Senator Spruill, the gentleman from Northern Chesapeake.
Thank you, Madam President. Move to adopt the House Conference report. Speaking to the matter.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This conference report does two things. First, it extends the sunset on the Commission on Electric Utility Regulations for 2 years. There are several matters pending before this commission dealing with utility regulation. Second, it finds removal of waste coal in the public interest. It does not prejudge the means of removal, leaving that to be determined by regulators. Waste coal is an environmental problem in Southwest Virginia for water quality because of runoff into our streams and rivers. It is also an air quality problem in the recent Appalachian School of Law study found because the waste coal pile can spontaneously combust. I move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 1326? All those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, no 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The conference committee report is adopted.
On page 23, conference committee report on Senate Bill 3.
Chair recognizes Senator Deeds, the gentleman from Bath.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I move that we accept the House report or the conference report, and I'd like to speak to that.
The senator has the floor. The gentleman may continue.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the conference report basically adopts the Senate position on the bill that relates to sorting up. It says that absentee ballots would be sorted by precinct. This is a Senate position that we already adopted.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the gentleman from Alexandria.
Would the senator from Bath yield for a question?
Gentleman from Bath, yield.
I yield.
Senator Eben.
Just for clarification, I would ask the senator from Bath, it does not require the physical sorting of the ballots, but rather the reporting of the ballots by precinct without a physical sorting of each and every ballot?
Senator from Bath has the floor.
Madam President, that is correct. This conference report represents the bill as it exited the Senate Privileges and Elections Committee.
I thank the senator.
The question is, shall the conference committee report on Senate Bill 3 be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Senate conference report is adopted.
On page 24, Conference Committee Report on Senate Bill 49.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate agree to the Conference Committee report, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This report we just voted on. So the conference report to Senate Bill 49 is exactly the same as the conference report to HB 1060, and that conference report passed 40-0. So I ask that the conference report be agreed to for Senate Bill 49.
The question is, shall the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 49 be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
On page 25, Conference Committee Report on Senate Bill 62.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola, the gentlelady from Arlington.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate agree to the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 62, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I just explained this. It is the School Health Services Committee conference report. This report is exactly the same as the Conference Committee report to HB 215, and that passed 38-2. So I ask that the conference report to the companion bill, Senate Bill 62, also pass. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The report is adopted.
On page 25, Conference Committee Report on Senate Bill 68.
The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate agree to the Conference Committee report for Senate Bill 68, and speaking to that motion.
Senator may continue.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, you just recently voted on the conference report to House Bill 979. This has to do with foreign licensed teachers and being able to have those teachers in our classrooms right away under a 3-year provisional license. Since that conference report to 979 passed 40-0, I respectfully ask that we also pass the conference report to Senate Bill 68, hopefully by the same margin. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 26, Conference Committee Report on Senate Bill 201.
Chair recognizes Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that the Senate agree to the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 201. And speaking to that motion.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Bill 201 is the financial assistance payment plans. This was the debt repayment bill regarding hospital debt. I just spoke to that bill a few minutes ago. This conference report is the same as the conference report on House Bill 1071. The body passed that, I believe, 40-0, and I respectfully ask that we pass the same conference report accompanying Senate Bill 201, hopefully by that same margin. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
On page 26, page 27, Conference Committee Report on Senate Bill 271.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the gentleman from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Senate cognate to HB 421 that we adopted the report for a few minutes ago. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the senior senator from Chesterfield for all her hard work on this bill. We had been working with different levels of the Kidney Association, unbeknownst to each other, since last summer. And she and I visited with the House conferees trying to get them to accept the Senate position. But to no avail. This bill includes the insurance discrimination provisions without the employment discrimination provisions that we can work on next year. So I move that we adopt the report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The report is adopted.
On page 29, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 361.
Senator Stewart, the gentleman from King George.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we adopt the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 361 and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. That is the Marcus Alert bill, the Senate version of the Marcus Alert bill that the gentleman from Prince William and I just explained. I'd ask that you all support the motion.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, 1. The report is adopted.
On page 30, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 403.
Chair recognizes Senator Reeves, the senator from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Madam President. Move that we adopt the committee report. And speaking to that,
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, this is the same exact posture as we just passed 763. I don't know that I need to belabor that discussion again. I would just ask that we adopt the committee conference report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 1, Rule 36-3.
Ayes 36, noes 1, Rule 36-3. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
Returning to page 20, House Bill 1282.
Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the conference report be agreed to. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a bill that allows forfeited property and assets that are paid into a fund that goes to federal, state, and local agencies to promote law enforcement. This bill allows that those funds can also be used to strengthen the relationships between the community and law enforcement, encourage goodwill between the community and law enforcement, or promote cooperation with law enforcement. This is really designed to help in those communities where that relationship has been frayed, to bring law enforcement and the community back together. The Senate liked the bill as it was originally introduced, but the House insisted on an amendment that they made to it that ultimately doesn't affect the purpose of the bill, and so we agreed to that House amendment.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 5, Conference Committee report on House Bill 217.
Chair recognizes Senator Hashmi, the gentlelady from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we concur with the report of the Conference Committee and speaking to that motion.
The Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This particular bill is establishing that computer science be integrated into our evaluation of our STEM programs, and it specifically asks that our new Office of Education and Labor Market Alignment evaluate the potential for job opportunities and growth in the industry, incorporating both STEM and computer science fields. And when it left the Senate, we had put on the clause to ensure that there was funding. But after evaluating the bill, we realized that there is no additional funding that is required for VEDP to do this work. And so with the advice of Madam Chair of Finance, we have removed the clause, and we agree and concur with the House bill, and I move that the bill pass.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Conference Committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 6, House Bill 348, Conference Report.
Chair recognizes Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Madam President, speaking to the conference report.
The senator may continue.
I would hope that we would adopt the conference report to 346. That essentially what winds up doing is it accepts House Bill 348 as it was introduced, Senator Watts' bill. This was a recommendation of a joint 2021 work group on unitary combined corporate tax liability that also involved discussions on tax administration. The chief thing about the bill is it reduces from 20 years to 12 years before a corporation can apply for a change in filing status. That request involves separate returns versus a consolidated return. That aggregates all the income and expenses for each Virginia corporation in an affiliate group. The bill makes no other changes, and it leaves in place the oversight of the tax department in whether to agree with the change or not. It does not involve Virginia adopting a unitary combined reporting. These deal with multi-store type corporations or unit corporations. It does not affect SB 386, which is Senator McDougall's bill that establishes an exception for applications made within the next 2 years by groups with at least one bank affiliate. And I would move that we adopt the conference report.
The question is, shall the Conference Committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
Conference Committee report on House Bill 642 on page 10.
Apologies, it's 6.
Chair recognizes Senator Mason, the gentleman from Williamsburg.
It's 642, I'm sorry.
632.
632.
632. Gentleman from Western Fairfax County, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the conference committee report. And speaking to that,
The senator has the floor.
thank you, Madam Chair. This dealt with the illegal exhaust systems, and it basically returns the law to the way it was prior to 2 years ago, I think, when it was changed, and it eliminates the ability of anyone to enforce this in a parking lot, driveway, but only on public highways. And with that, I think we're back to where we started, and the police will be able to enforce this
Madam
on
President,
highways.
could we get the right bill up there, please?
We're working on
Should be 632.
$642 is what I have.
But that's
The list is incorrect that we have. It's 632.
All right, so we're all confused. 632, page 10. Still on page 10. 632. And it's still the gentleman.
That completes my comment on the report, and I move its passage.
Let's be at ease for 5 minutes. Things are rolling a little bit too fast. We're trying to keep up. Thank you, sir.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes Senator Ruff. Gentleman from
President,
Mecklenburg.
Could we return to the morning hour while we're waiting for a minute?
We certainly may.
I would like to bring the attention of the body to the family of my seatmate, Kim Newman, his wife, and his son, Wesley, which was a former page, and his aide, Sarah Owen.
Please rise. Well, apparently you need no introduction. I'm the newbie here, and we thank you for coming and seeing once again that they haven't changed. And senators, let us give them the warm welcome of their Senate. We are again at ease. The Senate will come back to order. There's no one here. We are working on Senator Marsden's bill, 632.
Madam President.
The gentleman from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Madam President, if we are talking about House Bill 632, I was a conferee and I can explain the bill.
The senator may continue.
Madam President, this is the exhaust bill that went through earlier. In that process, the Senate had made a couple of adjustments to it, but in the end, on the floor of the Senate, there was some discussion that mostly revolved around whether or not this would be in someone's driveway, church, or other private property. All of that has been removed out of the bill, and basically what it says is that law enforcement on the roads of the highway can regulate if an individual does not have their muffler on and has this excessive noise. There's no impact on an OEM, and also there's not a decibel system in the bill. Madam President, that is what the bill and the conference committee report does, and I hope that we would adopt it.
The question is, shall the conference...
Madam President.
Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. Would the gentleman from Bedford yield for a question?
Will the gentleman from Bedford yield?
I yield.
He yields. Senator McClellan has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I was in the process of reading it, but this might be faster. So under the conference report, is it now a primary offense that someone can be pulled over and ticketed if they have a loud muffler, which I believe one version of the bill did have?
Senator Newman.
Madam President, I think it was, but let me get to that portion.
Madam President, could this go by temporarily so that the gentleman can...
Without objection, House Bill 632 goes by temporarily.
Page 10, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 642.
Chair recognizes Senator Mason. Senator Mason, the gentleman from Williamsburg.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the conference report and speak in that motion.
Senator has the floor.
So I believe the senior senator from Chesapeake had a similar bill to this about helping National Guardsmen with health care premium for like a 14-day period. But in the conference report, this initially had the Senate clause on that. We've confirmed with the chair of Senate Finance that that is acceptable to be removed. That's what's been done in this conference report, Madam President. So I hope the members will support the report. Thank you, ma'am.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
Page 11, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 657.
Chair recognizes Senator Hackworth, the gentleman from Tazewell.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
So the conference has agreed to take Senator Wampler's bill and make it identical to my bill that passed out of the Senate, and we passed it unanimously.
The question is, shall the bill be adopted? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The committee report is adopted.
On page 13, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 813.
Chair recognizes Senator Reeves, the gentleman from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll move that we adopt a committee conference report. And speaking to that,
The senator has the floor.
Madam President, this is the bill is in the same format as when it left the Senate, so we're back to the original Senate bill. That was a bill that would allow our law enforcement agencies to purchase smoothbore shotguns as military surplus. The House, when they put their budget amendment on, wanted to go and buy MRAPs and other things. We stripped that off, got back to the Senate position, and I would ask that we adopt the conference committee report.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The conference committee report is adopted.
On page 18, conference committee report on House Bill 1239.
Chair recognizes Senator from King George, Senator Stewart.
Pass that bill by temporarily, please, ma'am.
Without objection, House Bill 1239 goes by temporarily.
On page 28, conference committee report on Senate Bill 283.
Chair recognizes Senator Reeves. Wait a minute, 283. Hang on.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Bill 283.
Yes, sir. The gentleman from Augusta.
Madam President, can they just go by temporarily so we can talk to the patient?
Without objection, Senate Bill 283 goes by temporarily.
Page 28, Senate Bill 302, conference committee report.
Chair recognizes Senator Edwards, the gentleman from Roanoke City.
Yeah. Madam President, this it's a semi-compromise on the bill dealing with guardians.
For what purpose does the gentleman rise?
I move that the conference report be adopted.
Without, Senator may continue.
By way of explanation, this does a little compromise with regard to the last sentence, and it means that, well, it's too complicated to get into, but it does two things really, very simple. It makes it clear that community service boards and other local and state government agencies may file a petition for appointment of a guardian if necessary. And secondly, it puts in the place that a guardian need not be appointed for a person where a health care decision is made pursuant to and within the scope of the Health Care Decisions Act. And in addition, it has an enactment clause to do a study with regard to the cost to people who need to have who might need to have a guardian. And the idea is to get the community services boards more involved in the process. So with that explanation, I move the bill pass.
The question is, shall the committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The conference committee report is adopted.
On page 28, conference committee report on Senate Bill 328.
Chair recognizes Senator Reeves, the gentleman from Spotsylvania.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move to adopt the committee report. Speaking of that,
Senator has the floor.
This is the same bill that was the same as the House, where the House attempted to put their budget or their amendment on the bill that would change it to allow them to buy more military equipment. This is the Senate position as it came out of the Senate. Ask that we adopt the conference report.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. Conference committee report is adopted.
On page 30, conference committee report on Senate Bill 405.
Chair recognizes Senator Barker, Gentleman from Southern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that report,
the senator has the floor.
This is a bill dealing with health insurance coverage for prosthetic devices. Was reviewed by the Health Insurance Reform Commission and recommended for adoption there. What this does is this implements it, and we've basically specified which health insurance plans would cover this. There to make sure that people who have a medical justification for a prosthetic device receive that. And with that, I renew my motion to adopt the conference committee report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
Page 37, Conference Committee Report on Senate Bill 771.
Chair recognizes Senator Stewart. Gentleman from King George.
Thank you, Madam President. I move we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the personal property decoupling bill that would allow our commissioners of revenue to give our citizens some relief on their personal property taxes due to the inflation of value of used vehicles. It is the Senate position, except we added a 3-year sunset clause where the Senate originally had a 2-year sunset clause. So with that, and it does have an emergency clause on it as well. So with that, I'd ask we adopt the conference report.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
Returning to page 10, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 632.
Chair recognizes again Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the exhaust bill. Having previously explained the conference committee report, I move that the conference committee report be agreed to.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes the senator from Bedford, Senator Newman.
Madam President, speaking in favor of the bill, I think it is appropriate given the question.
Senator has the floor.
Before whether or not it's a primary offense, and I understand that it is.
Senator McClellan.
Thank you, Madam President. Speaking to the conference report.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to reiterate, so remember either last year or the year before, we passed legislation that took some primary offenses out of the code, and I think those members who voted for Senator Lucas's bill might want to take a close look at this, which makes this a primary offense.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. The report is adopted.
On page 18, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 1239.
Senator Stewart, the senator from King George.
Thank you, Madam President. I had to make sure I was addressing the right bill. That's the House counterpart of the personal property bill that we just passed that allows the Commissioner's Revenue to reduce the rate so it can equalize because of the inflation in used vehicles with an emergency clause in the sunset date. I'd ask we adopt the Conference Committee report.
The question is, shall the Conference Committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
On page 28, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 283.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam President. The senator from Rockingham wanted to, is not on the floor now, I don't believe, and he's the one who wanted that to go by, so I'll respect that and let it go by.
Without objection, it continues to go by temporarily. Okay.
Memorial resolutions.
Chair calls on Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Page 38.
Madam President, I move that the memorial resolutions on pages 38 through 39, that's HJ 374 through SR 74, be considered in a block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions thereof, with the understanding any senator desiring to remove a resolution from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution.
The question is, shall the memorial resolutions on pages 38 through 39, House Joint Resolution 374 through Senate Resolution 74, be considered in the block in the usual manner, waiving the reading of the resolutions with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the title of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will read the titles of the memorial resolutions.
Senate Resolution 32, celebrating the life of Nanny C. Poe. Senate Resolution 34, celebrating the life of Thomas Arthur Schultz III. Senate Resolution 67, celebrating the life of Willie James Moffett. Senate Resolution 68, celebrating the life of Juanita Strawn, Ph.D. Senate Resolution 69, celebrating the life of Morris H. Morgan III. Senate Resolution 73, celebrating the life of Gavin William Dent. Senate Resolution 74, celebrating the life of Howard Kelly Moore.
Madam Clerk, we have House Joint Resolution 374. Are we not doing that one?
And we missed House Joint Resolution 374, celebrating the life of the Reverend Woodrow M. Brown, Jr.
The resolutions will be agreed to in the usual manner. All those in favor of agreeing to the memorial resolutions, please rise. The resolutions are agreed to.
Commending resolutions.
Chair calls on Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Madam President, I move that the commending resolutions on pages 39 through 42, that's HJ 244 through SR 81, be considered in a block by voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolutions, with the understanding any senator desiring to remove a resolution from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution.
The question is, shall the commending resolutions on pages 39 through 42, House Joint Resolution 244 through Senate Resolution 81, be considered in the block by voice vote, waiving the reading of the resolutions, with the understanding that any senator desiring a resolution removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the resolution. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The resolutions are before us in the block. The clerk will now read the numbers of the resolution.
House Joint Resolutions 244, 342, 359, 368, Senate Resolutions 31.
Wait a minute. It skipped a bunch.
Sorry, we're having a little problem with the system dropping some of these. Let's just start over.
Okay.
Resolutions. House Joint Resolutions 244, 342, 359, 368, 370, 372, 414, 430, 451, Senate Resolution 31, 33, 35, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 70, 71, 72, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81.
The question is, shall the resolutions be agreed to? All in favor of agreeing to the resolutions will say aye. Those opposed, no. The resolutions are agreed to.
On page 6, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 282.
Chair recognizes Senator McPike. Senator from Prince William. Chair recognizes instead Senator Morrissey, the junior senator from Richmond.
Yes, Madam President, would you just pass this by temporarily? Thank you.
Without objection, House Bill 282 goes by temporarily.
On page 14, Conference Committee Report on House Bill 820.
Chair recognizes Senator Locke, gentlelady from Hampton.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we adopt a conference committee report and speak into that.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. When this HB 20 left the Senate, it had the financial contingency clause attached, and since that time it has been determined that there was no fiscal impact at this time, attached to HB 20, there will be no financial need attached to this bill until 5 years from now. So as a consequence, it no longer needs the financial contingency clause. So that is why I will move that we adopt the conference committee report.
Chair recognizes Senator Morrissey, the junior senator from Richmond. The question is...
Madam President, I withdraw my request to speak.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? Those in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The report is adopted.
On page 15, Conference Committee report on House Bill 902.
Chair recognizes Senator Hanger.
Thank you, Madam President. The senator from Rockingham wanted to address this, or speak to it, or let it go. You want to meet with me?
Courthouse.
Okay. Bye temporarily.
Without objection.
On page 31, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 435.
Chair recognizes Senator Barker.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the Conference Committee report to Senate Bill 435. And speaking to that,
The senator has the floor.
Speaking to that, this is the same, has the same wording as the bill from Delegate Herring, which also dealt with this issue. It deals with, and we adopted that unanimously. And what this does, it deals with including parents in the community management teams for providing services to children and adolescents. And with that, I renew my motion to adopt the Conference Committee report.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
Page 34, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 581.
Chair recognizes Senator Morrissey, junior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate agree to the Conference Committee report and speaking to the measure.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the body, SB 581, you may recall, is identical to House Bill 1053, and it simply directs the State Board of Local and Regional Jails to convene a work group to review and make recommendations regarding the reductions and elimination of costs that we're assessing to inmates. There were some questions that the senator from Senator Reeves had about adding additional stakeholders, and we've done that. Now I think we're in the posture to pass the conference committee report.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will say aye. Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 37, noes 3.
Ayes 37, noes 3. The report is adopted. I'm losing my voice. Senator Lucas, yes, please. The Senate will suspend temporarily. At ease.
Senate will come to order. I call on the senator from Williamsburg, Senator Mason. Who is it? Who has it? Williamsburg, Senator Mason.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move the Senate adopt the conference report. And speaking of that measure,
You have the floor. Senator has the floor.
thank you, Madam President. Madam President, this is about as much attention and participation as I deserve after I messed this bill up yesterday. I had erroneously accepted the wrong bill, which I removed, and and now no one's listening, so I've got the right bill and don't have anybody's attention. So, but no, ma'am, Madam President, this is the bill. This is correct now, and it's the bill that I passed, and we adopted in the Senate 40-0. So I hope the 13 or 14 of us will take care of that now. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, should the conference committee report be adopted? All in favor, please say aye. This is going to be a recorded vote. All those in favor of the motion, please record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? I think she voted no. all senators desire to change their vote? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The conference committee report is adopted.
Returning to page 15, House Bill 902, conference report.
And that's, and which bill, which number is that?
HB 902 on page 15.
Oh, just let the damn people.
We've got to wait for their conversation.
Do you want to just have us be at ease?
The Senate will be at ease just for a moment while Senator Hanger and Senator Obenshane continue their conversation.
Madam President, I would ask that go by temporarily.
Bill 902 will go back temporarily.
Returning to page 28, Senate Bill 283.
I think that's the same. That's the same companion.
Never mind.
I think we can just be at ease for a minute.
We can go to 282 on page 6.
Page 6, House Bill 282.
Senator Morrissey.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that Senate agree to the conference committee report on House Bill 282 and speaking to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. Madam President and members of the body, you may recall that House Bill 282 is identical to Senate Bill 409. It allows people with minor criminal convictions easier access to professional and occupational licensing. And with that, I'd ask that the body adopt the Senate Conference Committee report.
Shall the Conference Committee report on House Bill 282 be adopted? All in favor of the motion, please record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is we're getting With the. You ready?
You just want to say the clerk will call the calendar.
The clerk will call the calendar.
Page 9, House Bill 434, conference report.
Madam President, I got it.
The senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serval.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd move to adopt the conference report and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. House Bill 434 basically adopts the Senate position on this bill. This is the bill that has to do with touching a chest versus a breast of a child, and the conference report basically adopts the position that we took in this body. It passed, I want to say, unanimously, I think. So I would ask that we would pass this conference report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 434? All those in favor of that motion, please record the votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, no 0. The conference committee report is adopted.
Page 21, conference committee report on House Bill 1304.
Senator from Northwestern Fairfax, Senator Boysko.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I move the committee report be adopted, and speaking to that matter.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. The only change from what we did was changing the number of members of the body on this commission, making it more equal. So there are 4 House members, 3 Senate members, and that's the only change that we made. And I move we adopt it.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 1304? All those in favor of that motion, please record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The conference committee report is adopted.
On page 25, conference committee report on Senate Bill 108.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Marcy, and where is he?
Madam President.
Temporarily, Madam President.
What she said.
I recognize the senator from Eastern Fairfax, Senator Serval.
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to ask the same thing. Could this go by temporarily?
I thought he was going to respond to you. Without objection.
Page 28, conference report on Senate Bill 324.
Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the conference committee report and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. We adopted the amendments that were reported out of the House, and they were modest. One changed the to an and this is the bill that passed out of this body that takes our current FOIA laws and aligns them with federal law when it comes to the protection of information related to your charitable contribution. Under IRS rules, we do not disclose donors to 501c3 charities, and we're trying to protect that same information under our FOIA laws in Virginia, and that's what the bill does. Thank you, Madam President.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on Senate Bill 324? All those in favor of that motion, please record your votes aye. Those
So we'll
opposed,
call
no.
her back in 10 minutes.
Oh. Oh, the senator. Yeah, the senator from Rockingham. Did you want to speak to them? Oh, I thought you. Okay, I'm sorry.
You can just start again.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please record your votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. Conference committee report has been adopted on Senate Bill 324.
On page 36, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 694.
Chair recognizes Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the Conference Committee report. This is the eminent domain kind of omnibus bill. It has some technical fixes, and it had some issues that VML had some issues with. We addressed some of the VML requests. This conference report adds language that expressly prevents double recovery in cases of lost access that had been of some concern. It also adds language that prevents claims for temporary takes of less than 7 days. There had been some concern that if an entrance to a business was closed for a parade or a street festival or something, that somehow that would give rise to an eminent domain claim. This makes it clear that it absolutely would not. It also provides that it also changed the language dealing with temporary losses of access. It had required certification, or had required the condemning authority to provide the date of the termination of the take pursuant to a request, I think, of Arlington, maybe Alexandria, I can't remember which. There was Arlington. There was language added to that allowed local governments to avoid that requirement if they certified that the termination date was unknown, and it clarifies that it provides claims not just for material losses of access, but loss of vehicular or pedestrian access to property, which the property owner still must prove damaged their property. So, Madam President, with that, I would ask that the Conference Committee report be adopted.
The question is, the Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Speak to the report.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to add basically an accord to what my colleague from Rockingham just said. Just very briefly, I know VML had expressed a lot of reservations on this bill. They had 3 points, which they expressed in a memo to us. One was keeping the language that said you can't duplicate damages with lost profits and just compensations findings. We put that back in, so that we agreed with them on that. Secondly, that temporary take should not be included as an inverse condemnation. We put language, again, that language was back in. So they got that. And then the third one had to do, they wanted to keep the current definition of lost access, which is already in the code, so that's not a new cause of action. Right now it's about a paragraph that defines what it means to have lost access. We just basically summarized it down to a sentence, which is if you have property taken and you're part of an eminent domain proceeding and part of your damages deal with lost access to your business, you can make that recovery, which frankly is the law. We just wrote it more simply. So to quote Meatloaf, 2 out of 3 ain't bad for VML. I'm going to give them a 667 batting percentage on this one, but I hope we pass the bill. Thanks.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise for a question to address the patron with an inquiry.
Will the Senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenchain, we here for a question?
Of course I will.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. You mentioned VML, so my question is the Virginia Association of Counties also had some issues, or at least they had made it known to some of us that they had some issues. Were those issues addressed as well? Were they similar to the issues that VML identified?
I have not, Madam President.
Senator has floor.
I have not been contacted by Virginia Association of Counties. I have been in pretty close communication with VML. My understanding is that their messaging and their concerns were the same. And we have endeavored to the extent that we're possible to accommodate those. And I believe that we've done the best that we can. And as Senator from Fairfax City points out, 2 out of 3 is pretty good. And we did try to address what we could. They're not going to be entirely happy, but this is, I think, a very fair bill that doesn't tilt the axis of the earth.
I thank you, Madam President. Thank you to the senator from Rockingham.
Chair recognizes the senator from East Fairfax County, Senator Serval.
Will the senator from Rockingham yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
I yield.
Senator Serval, you have the floor.
There's currently about a $1 billion road widening bus rapid transit project that I represent that involves, I think, about 400 takes. It's already been bid out and costed out, and I think they're talking about issuing take letters like in the next 30 days. And I'm just trying to understand the interplay between this statute and when the damage provisions, et cetera, kick in relative to the certificate of take, so that does this alter the damages that are payable after the project's been bid out or the take's been issued, and et cetera? Because I'm kind of worried about, the estimates and changed estimates and all that, because there's nothing in here about retroactivity or when it takes over and all that.
Now, I'm going to try to do my best, but I'll yield in second to Senator from Fairfax City. But my understanding is that if the take has already occurred, it's governed by current law. This law becomes effective on July the 1st of this year, but I yield to the senator from Fairfax City.
Thank you, Madam President. I would tell the gentleman that it depends on when the certificate of take is filed. Right now it's March 10th, 11th, something like that. And so if this certificate of take is filed before July 1st, then this law would not apply. If it's filed after July 1st, this law would apply. As a practical matter, again, lost access is already a cause of action, and if you have a business that is facing Route 1, and I have some of these clients, you already have a cause of action. That's not going to change. It would be more a question of if, say, you lived on Sherwood Hall Lane and Sherwood Hall Lane was blocked off and people couldn't get to your business, then you might have an additional cause of action. But again, you have to be subject to a taking, and I don't know if anyone in Sherwood Hall Lane is actually subject to a taking. So I think the overall cost of the project would be de minimis.
Okay. Madam President?
Yes.
Would the senator, my seatmate, yield for an additional question?
Will the senators?
I will.
One senator from Fairfax.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm still blowing through the text here. I mean, these things pop up on our computer and we can pull them up and try and read them really fast. But the certificate of take might be issued on a certain date, but the actual construction doesn't begin for another year or 2 or 3 or 4 in some cases. And so I'm just trying to understand, in terms of like the lost access, exactly which law is going to apply.
The senator from Fairfax City, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was my bill about 4 years ago, which says up to 3 years after the construction begins, you can bring a lost profits claim. The problem is you're subject to the law that is in effect at the time the certificate of take was filed. If the gentleman wants to ask the governor to add an amendment to which would allow retroactivity, I would love that, but I don't think he's going to do that. So,
thank you, Madam President. I appreciate that clarification.
Senator from Rockingham.
I move that renew my motion that the conference committee report be adopted.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on Senate Bill 694? All those in favor of the motion, please record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 32, noes 8.
Ayes 32, noes 8. The conference committee report is adopted.
On page 36, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 703.
The chair recognizes the senator from Northwestern Fairfax County. Senator Borsco.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we agree to the conference report.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is exactly the same language as we just passed a second ago. Again, it's the ITAC committee. It gives us a better voice. 3 senators, 4 House members. I move we approve.
Question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on Senate Bill 703? All those in favor of the motion, please record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The conference committee report is adopted on Senate Bill 703.
Go back to page 25.
Page 25.
Senate Bill 108.
Senate Bill 108.
The junior senator from Richmond City, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you.
Madam President, I move the Senate agree to the conference committee report on Senate Bill 108 and speaking to the measure.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Senate Bill 108 is a bill to study restorative housing in the Department of Corrections. And as you recall, there were a number of meetings that took place off session. During the conference committee, the following was determined. This SB 108 will direct the DOC to convene a work group, and it will study restorative housing, aka solitary confinement, within the Department of Corrections and the Department of Juvenile Justice. This work group will simply study the best ways to eliminate or reduce restorative housing. It will include 3 members of the Virginia Coalition on Solitary Confinement, 3 formerly incarcerated individuals, as well as 3 members from DOC and 3 members from DJJ. It is hoped that at least 25 people that had been incarcerated or currently incarcerated and were in restorative housing will be eliminated, will be interviewed. And with that, Madam President, I will ask that the body accept and agree to the conference committee report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on Senate Bill 108? All those in favor of that motion, please record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 28, noes 12.
Ayes 28, noes 12. The conference committee report is adopted on Senate Bill 108.
On page 34, conference committee report on Senate Bill 598.
The senator from Washington, Senator Pilion.
Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you, I think, Madam President. So I move that we adopt the committee conference report and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. The conference report for Senate Bill 598 is identical to the bill that we passed through here that was 36-4. So I move that we adopt the conference committee report.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on Senate Bill 598? All those in favor of that motion, please. I'm sorry. The senator from Bath, Senator D.
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the senator yield?
Of course.
Senator yield.
Madam
Senator
President,
D.
I'd ask the gentleman if a financial contingency clause wasn't on this bill, and I'd ask him if that, when it was on that bill when it left the Senate, is that clause still on the bill?
Senator from Washington, Senator Pilion.
Madam President, I would respond that it is.
Okay. I'll thank the gentleman.
Anybody else wishing to speak? The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report on Senate Bill 598? All those in favor of the motion, please record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. The conference committee report has been adopted on Senate Bill 598. It will be at ease.
Senate will come back to order. Madam Clerk.
Page 5 of the calendar, House Bill 241, conference report.
Chair recognizes Senator Barker, the gentleman from Southern Fairfax.
Madam President, I move that we adopt the conference committee report. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
The conference committee report, this relates to durable medical equipment, things principally wheelchairs. It turned out that this was going to be more expensive than had been anticipated by the patron, and the bill has been, as in the conference committee, we have turned it into a study. And with that, I would ask that we pass the bill.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
House Bill 258 on page 5, conference committee report.
Chair recognizes Senator McClellan, the senior senator
Thank you,
from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the conference report be adopted. And speaking to that,
the senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the bill that would require hotel employees to provide hotels to provide their employees with training on human trafficking. Based on the discussion we had yesterday, what the conference report does is adopt a specific definition of employee for purposes of this requirement. That would be any person employed by the hotel that has frequent or regular interactions with the guests, such as front desk clerks, who is in a management position or has access to the guest room, including housekeeping staff. So it limits it to those employees that would be customer facing, or in the case of housekeeping staff, may not necessarily interface with customers, but would definitely interface in a room that could be used for trafficking activity. And
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Very briefly, I don't want to reiterate what my colleague from Richmond said, but I do think our discussion yesterday was helpful in getting to a good place on this bill, and I hope we can get it passed. Thank you.
The question is, shall the Senate adopt the conference committee report? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 4.
Ayes 36, noes 4. The conference committee report is adopted.
On page 6, conference committee report on House Bill 346.
Chair recognizes Senator Pillion, the senator from Washington. Temporarily?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Without objection, House Bill 346 goes by temporarily.
Page 15, House Bill 936, conference report. Senator Ruff.
936. Chair recognizes Senator Ruff, the gentleman from Mecklenburg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the conference committee report. This is a bill that deals with...
Senator has the floor.
This is a bill that deals with coins, gold coins. We've agreed to have a sunset date of 2025, but it removes the $1,000 minimum purchase.
The question is, shall the conference committee report be adopted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. The senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 22, Conference Committee report on House Bill 1323.
Chair recognizes Senator Boysko, the senator from northwestern Fairfax County.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the conference committee for HB 1323 and speak to the bill.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. Here we have the same version that we vote that was Senator Donovan's bill from Henrico County, except that it struck the testing provisions. And I so move that we accept the committee conference report.
The question is, shall the Conference Committee report be accepted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
On page 27, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 241. Senator Hashmi.
241. Chair recognizes Senator Hashmi, the senior senator from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we concur with the Conference Committee report and speaking to that.
The senator has the floor.
This is the Renal Advisory Council that was passed out of the Senate. The House, in the House version, they removed the language for the fund, and we have all agreed that that is acceptable language, and I move that we accept the bill as it is now.
The question is, shall the Conference Committee report be accepted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The Conference Committee report is adopted.
On page 29, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 389.
Chair recognizes Senator Eben, the gentleman from Alexandria.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the conference report be accepted and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
The Senate position has prevailed in full. The House retracted from their misguided amendment. So I move that we accept the report.
The question is, shall the Conference Committee report be accepted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
Page 30, Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 409.
Chair recognizes Senator Morrissey, the junior senator from Richmond.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, members of the body, this bill is identical to House Bill.
For what purpose does the gentleman rise?
Madam President, I move that the Senate agree to the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 409.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, this bill is identical to House Bill 282 that just passed this body a couple of hours ago. Senate Bill 409 is a bill that will allow those individuals with minor convictions to be provided easier access to professional and occupational licenses. One of the changes to it is it did enact at the request of the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation, DPOR, added a reenactment clause. With that, Madam President, I ask that the body accept the conference report.
The question is, shall the Conference Committee report be accepted? Those in favor will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Does any senator desire to change their vote? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, no 0.
Ayes 40, no 0. The report is adopted.
Returning to page 6, Conference Committee report on House Bill 346.
Chair again recognizes Senator Pillion.
Exactly. Thank you, Madam President. Can this go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 346 goes by for the day. Chair now recognizes the senior senator from Fairfax, Senator Saslaw. Complete.
Madam President, I'd ask the clerk, does that complete the calendar?
It does not complete the calendar, but it completes what we have to do today.
Okay. All right. I would move that. I'll leave that up to the president of the president pro tem. Okay.
All right. Is there any other business to come before? Chair recognizes the junior senator from Richmond, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise for an inquiry.
The senator has the floor.
Did we get a HJR over from the House regarding a judicial appointment for Stephen Novi in the 12th Judicial Circuit? And if we did, what is the status of that, if I could ask the clerk's office?
Madam Clerk will answer that.
It's in Judiciary Committee with plans for the committee to take it up tomorrow.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Madam President.
Is there any other business? The clerk will report any announcements on the desk.
Tomorrow, Saturday, March the 11th, the Democratic Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session, Senate Room 1, Capitol. Republican Caucus will meet 1/2 hour before session, Senate Room 2 in the Capitol. And just so you know what you may be facing tomorrow, strong storm systems moving out of the southeast will bring a multifaceted weather event across the region on Saturday, an enhanced risk of severe thunderstorms, wind gusts greater than 60 miles per hour, and there is a possibility of a few tornadoes. It only takes one. As the colder air enters, rain will change to snow. Accumulations of around 2 inches possible in and northwest of Richmond. A winter weather advisory is in effect in western Louisa and Fluvanna counties. And tomorrow, you turn your clock forward 1 hour at Sunday morning, after 12 a.m. On Sunday, if we're still here, we'll turn the clocks forward.
Chair recognizes Senator Saslaw, the senior senator from Fairfax County.
Madam President, I'd inquire of the clerk, do you have any more good news?
Hey, that's what happens when you tell me 9 o'clock.
We're being punished.
You don't mess with Mother Nature.
All right.
Chair recognizes the senator from Portsmouth, Senator Lucas.
Madam President, I've heard everything from noon back to 10 o'clock. But, Madam President, I move that the Senate do now adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow.
The question is, shall the Senate adjourn until 9 a.m. tomorrow? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The Senate stands adjourned until 9 o'clock tomorrow.